Hi, fourth grade. This is Mrs. Brand, and I am going to go over things for your investigation review. So first of all, on investigation review, we have a couple of topics. The first topic is analyzing information and looking for patterns, and then finding a math equation that we can use. So we're going to look at an example. Here's 10 questions, and if we had 10 questions on a quiz or a test, we'd want to see, okay, here's the number correct, here's the score we got. Is there a pattern that I see between the number correct and the score I got? Well, according to this, if I had one number correct, or one score correct, I would get 10%. If I had two correct, I'd get 20. Three correct, I'd get 30. And when I look at that, I can determine that I would do something with multiplication to get my answer. So what times 1 gives you 10? What times 2 gives you 20? Well, hopefully you came up with the number 10. So 10 times a number gives us the score that we would have. So let's say we have a situation on a test and we have 7 correct. So then we multiply that by 10 and we get that 70%. That's based on 10 questions. So if I had a 10 question test or a 10 question quiz and I got 7 right, I'd multiply that by 7 and I'd find out that I would get 70%. Now let's look and see what happens here. Analyzing information, and this time we have 20 questions. Well, if I have 20 questions, it says that if I have 1 correct, I have 5%. If I have 2 correct, I have 10%. 3 correct, 15%. So what's our pattern here? The number correct times what? What number would you say there? Hopefully you would see the 5 patterns. 1 times 5, 2 times 5, 3 times 5, 4 times 5. So if I had 16 correct out of 20, I would multiply that by 5 and I would get 80%. So if I had 16 correct, I would multiply it by 5 and I could tell my score would be 80%. A lot of times our math tests have 20 questions on it. Other times we have different homework assignments that have 20 questions on it. So we could figure it out by looking for a pattern. Okay? Now, when we have a pattern, then we can plot those numbers and we can see what kind of pattern do we get. So if I worked 1 day and I earned $2, I would plot it right there. 1 day, $2. That's where they meet. If I had 2 days that I worked and it was $4, it would be right here, and that's where it would meet. And that would give me $4. Here I go 3 and $6, so I'm going in an upward pattern. And if I actually looked at the board, I could say I went over 1 and 2 up. I went over 1 and 2 up. Next one would be over 1 and 2 up. But I also could look for that type of pattern that I want to see, that analyzing the data. I say the number of days, that's 1, times something is going to give me 2. The number of days, 2, times something is going to give me 4. So hopefully when you were looking at that, you would come up with the number 2. Oops, I have to change this a second. We need to go to our pencil tools. Okay, let's do purple. All right, so we would have the number, well, come on, why aren't you doing that? There we go, the number 2. Okay, so you would have the day times $2, or the day times 2 would equal the number of dollars. So anything times 2 would give me, any day, number of days times 2 would give me the number of dollars I would have. So if I worked for, let's say I worked for 10 days, and I don't know why my pen doesn't want to work. Okay, well, we'll leave it like this for now. Alright, if I were 10 days, ooh, that fun color, that fun graffiti one, times it by 2. Okay, times it by 2, and we get what number? Hopefully you said 20. That's a terrible looking thing right there. That doesn't look good, but we're going to leave it for right now. 10 times 2 equals $20. And so if I work 10 days, I would get $20. Okay? All right, on to our next page. Let's go back to full screen. Okay, and we move on. So we have two different areas. We have an x-axis, or the one that goes to the right, and we have the y-axis, or the one that goes up. So when we look at plotting a point, we want to use the x-axis, or the part that goes right or left, and then go up the y-axis. So here we would have, if I did 3 and 6, I would go over 3. It's like walking down the street. You're going to walk left or right first. So walk to 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to take the elevator up to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so that point would be right there on the graph. Okay? So we could see that point when we would do that. I'm going back to a regular pen here so that we can see it better. So let's try another one. Let's say we're going to do 2 and comma 1. 2 comma 1. So I would go down the street to 2, and then I would go up 1, and my point would be right there. Okay, here's some other examples that we have. We have 5 and 7. So I go down the street to 5, here's 5, and then I go up to 7. Okay, if I had 0 and 5, that means I wouldn't have to go down the street at all, and I would just go take the elevator up to 5. And so my point would be right on that line there. Okay, if I had 7 and 1, that means I'd go over 7 and up 1, and I would get my point to be right there. Okay, that is your lesson for today, and you have a worksheet that is dealing with plotting points like this, or saying where a point is. So they may give you a point and say, okay, where is it? Make sure you always do this number first, and then the one on this line second. So how many over did you go, and then how many up did you go? Go down the street, up the elevator. Okay, remember that when you're writing your points, make sure you put in the parentheses as well.